Chicken flavor. This is the one that started it all for most people. Maruchan introduced chicken-flavored ramen to the American market in 1977, and it quickly became a staple in households across the country. The broth is light, salty, and has that familiar bouillon-style taste that feels like comfort food. It is simple by design, which is exactly why it has lasted this long. You can dress it up with vegetables or a soft-boiled egg, or eat it straight from the pot. Either way, it delivers what it promises. Creamy chicken flavor. This one takes the original chicken base and adds milk solids to the seasoning packet, giving the broth a slightly richer texture. In practice, the creaminess is subtle rather than dramatic, but it does mellow out the saltiness a bit and makes the soup feel a little more filling. It works well as a blank canvas if you want to add your own ingredients, since the milder flavor does not compete with much. Roast chicken flavor. Where the original chicken flavor is bright and straightforward, roast chicken goes a little deeper. The seasoning has more of a slow-cooked quality to it, with a hint of green onion that makes the broth feel more developed. It is still simple, but there is a layer of warmth to it that the standard chicken version does not quite reach. For a lot of people, this becomes their go-to once they try it. Picante chicken flavor. This one brings heat into the chicken lineup. The seasoning packet has visible red pepper flakes and delivers a spice level that is noticeable without being overwhelming. The base is still chicken, but the heat changes the experience enough that it almost feels like a different product entirely. If you want something with a little more energy than a regular bowl of ramen, this is a natural starting point. Beef flavor. Beef has been part of the Maruchan lineup since the beginning, sitting alongside chicken as one of the original American flavors. The broth is darker, saltier, and has a bold, savory quality that some people find more satisfying than the chicken varieties. It is not subtle. The flavor is upfront and direct, which makes it a good choice when you want something hearty and filling without any extra effort. Roast beef flavor. This version takes the beef base and pushes it further into something that genuinely resembles the flavor of slow-cooked meat. There is an almost gravy-like quality to the broth, with a depth that sets it apart from the standard beef flavor. It is one of the more surprisingly good options in the entire lineup, often catching people off guard because the name sounds simple, but the flavor is more complex than expected. Pork flavor. Pork ramen has deep roots in Japanese cuisine, where tonkotsu broth made from slow-simmered pork bones is considered one of the most rich and satisfying styles of ramen you can eat. The Maruchan version is obviously a simplified take, but it still carries a distinct savory quality that is different from the beef or chicken options. The flavor is salty, with a subtle meatiness that makes it one of the more traditional tasting options in the lineup. Shrimp flavor. Seafood ramen might seem like an unusual choice, but shrimp-flavored instant ramen has been popular in Asia for decades. The Maruchan version has a mild, slightly briny taste that is more savory than it is fishy. It is lighter than the meat-based flavors and works surprisingly well with added vegetables. People who grew up eating it tend to have a strong attachment to it, even though it does not get as much attention as chicken or beef. Lime chili shrimp flavor. This one stands out from everything else in the lineup. The combination of shrimp, lime, and chili creates a broth that is tangy, savory, and spicy all at once. The lime comes through clearly and gives it a brightness that most instant ramen does not have. It is harder to find on store shelves than the other flavors, which has given it a bit of a cult reputation among people who have tried it. Once you find it, it tends to stick around as a favorite. Chili flavor. Chili-flavored ramen occupies its own lane. It is not quite like any of the meat-based broths, and the heat level sits somewhere between mild and medium. The seasoning has a reddish color and a warmth that builds as you eat. It is one of the more underrated options in the lineup, often overlooked in favor of the classic flavors, but it holds up well on its own and pairs nicely with shredded cheese or a handful of crackers on the side. Soy sauce flavor. Soy sauce is one of the foundational flavors in traditional Japanese ramen, so it makes sense that Maruchan would include it in their lineup. The broth is dark, savory, and has a clean umami quality that feels closer to restaurant ramen than most of the other options. It is versatile and pairs well with almost anything you want to add. For people interested in building a more elaborate bowl at home, this one is often the best starting point. Less sodium chicken flavor. This version was created for people who enjoy the original chicken flavor but want to reduce their salt intake. The taste is noticeably milder and the broth is lighter in color, but the familiar chicken flavor is still there. It is a practical option rather than an exciting one, filling a specific need without trying to reinvent anything. Less sodium, beef flavor. The same idea applies here. The beef flavor is dialed back to lower the sodium content, making it a gentler version of the original. The bold character of the standard beef flavor is toned down considerably, but for someone managing their salt intake, it offers a way to still enjoy a familiar product without the full sodium load. Fire spicy beef flavor. This is the newest direction for Maruchan, stepping into the spicy noodle category that has exploded in popularity over the last several years, largely driven by Korean brands pushing the boundaries of heat. The fire spicy beef flavor brings genuine intensity, combining the familiar beef base with a serious level of spice. It is a departure from the approachable, everyday character that Maruchan built its reputation on, but it shows that the brand is paying attention to where the market is heading.